morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, March 20th, 2009. The first day of spring. Began 3 hours and 45 minutes ago. Right now it's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. It's 3:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 9:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our instant mail address on AOL is CATEX-TV. On this day in history, in 1995, a religious cult released packages of the chemical poison sarin on the Tokyo subway system, killing 12 people, sickening over 5,000 more. Former Canadian Prime Minister Brian Mulroney is 70 years old today. We have one breaking story. 2 American naval ships collided in the Straits of Hormuz at 1 a.m. local time this morning. One was a nuclear-powered submarine, the USS Hartford. It collided with an amphibious ship. Since the Straits of Hormuz is a waterway through which 40% of the world's oil passes, the price of oil has jumped on the New York Commodity Exchange, appropriately so. It's not known at this time whether any obstacle has been created in the waterway, and the Navy is not saying much. Now to our main news. Publication Insurance Times is reporting just before we went on the air that the French oil company Total has been blamed for the 700 million pound Buncefield fire. The oil giant will apparently now pay out 5 million pounds to Allianz, the insurance company. Allianz will look to claw this money back from Total after a British High Court judgment pinned responsibility for the Buncefield explosion on Total. The ruling ends the dispute between Total and Chevron over who should pay for damage caused by the explosion in Hemel Hempstead back in December of 2005. Allianz has settled 5 million pounds in property and business interruption claims for the explosion. Allianz has teamed up with other insurers and had managed to get some of that money back from a subsidiary oil company owned by Chevron and Total. Today's ruling, however, means that Total will now have to pay all the costs, thought to be about 700 million pounds, instead of splitting them with Chevron. Chevron had been disputing the claim of joint liability, saying that since the explosion was caused by error on the part of Total employees, full liability should lie with Total. The estimated cost which Total must now pay includes claims for personal injury, property damage, and compensation for economic loss. There was a major earthquake out in the Pacific, a big one, 7.9. Pulled up our Asia map here. You notice the New Zealand islands there, and to the north is Tonga. This is where the earthquake struck this morning, a 7.9 earthquake, sending people in low-lying areas of Fiji and Tonga fleeing for higher ground. Quake hit shortly after dawn. A magnitude 5.3 aftershock was recorded in the same region about 2 hours later. There were no apparent signs of any injury or damage. However, the U.S. Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued an immediate tsunami warning for several islands out there, including American Samoa, Tonga, Kermadec, and Fiji. The warning center said that a tsunami had been generated and that it could have been destructive along coastlines near the earthquake's epicenter. In Fiji, believe it or not, about 700 kilometers west of Tonga, authorities warned people in coastal areas to move to higher ground. They closed the schools. Many heeded the warning. However, police complained that others in the Fiji capital of Suva gathered at seawalls looking for signs of an approaching tsunami. The tsunami, fortunately, the warning was fortunately lifted, or those people waiting on the seawalls for it would have had a very disastrous beginning to their weekend. In the United States, the AIG bonus drumbeat continues. This time it's the U.S. House of Representatives who jumped on the bandwagon. The Democratic-led House overwhelmingly approved a bill last night to slap a punishing federal tax on big employee bonuses from AIG, as well as to satisfy the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution, other firms bailed out by taxpayers. The vote was 328 to 93. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said, "We want our money back, and we want our money back now." Bonuses, of course, totaled $165 million. They were paid to employees of troubled AIG, including traders in the unit that brought about the company's near collapse. The bill was opposed by 6 Democrats and 87 Republicans. The margin of victory came especially actually after the minority leader, the Republican leader, John Boehner, said the bill was a political circus, diverting attention from why the Obama administration had not done more to block the bonuses before they were paid. However, most of the Republicans ended up voting to put the tax in place. The Attorney General of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo, seems to be one of the few people getting results here. He said last night that he has now obtained the list of names of those employees at AIG's financial products unit who have received the $165 million of bonuses. However, reacting perhaps to the same concerns that prompted a front-page story in today's New York Times, talking about safety and security issues that have been raised by AIG employees in New York and Connecticut and New Jersey, the New York Attorney General said that he is sensitive to the privacy and security concerns raised by these people. More than 400 people are on the list, and the Attorney General now will responsibly balance the public's right to know how their tax dollars are spent with individual security and privacy concerns of these people. He's also going to be working simultaneously with AIG to determine which employees have given back their bonuses. On Monday, we're going to be interviewing the editor of Insurance Day, which is a daily 5-day-a-week publication that comes out of London. It specializes in Lloyd's. The editor is Richard Banks. Mr. Banks was recently interviewed on the BBC World Service. Mr. Banks had a front-page article today mentioning that capacity at Kiln's newly managed syndicate has been increased by 62% in the latest sign of optimism about the Lloyd's market. Kiln Syndicate 1880 was set up for the 2009 year by Kiln and its Tokyo Marine parent to write a portion of Tokyo Marine's intra-group insurance. The syndicate has now increased its capacity up to £325 million. Already this year, according to Mr. Banks, 5 managing agents have announced capacity-raising plans, ostensibly to support premium growth at their underwriting platforms. For example, Beasley has raised £150 million, Hardy's has raised £40 million, Catlin has raised £200 million, Chaucer has raised £75 million, and Omega expects to raise £130 million. These capital raises are coming in the face of articles that also say in their headlines, capital is a problem for the reinsurance industry. So Mr. Banks will talk to us about that, and we'll see if we can get some clarification on what's going on. A little bit further to the east in Paris, President Sarkozy didn't have such a good day yesterday. More than 1 million angry French workers took to the streets yesterday in a nationwide strike, all attempting to force Sarkozy to increase wages and protect jobs as the economic crisis in France deepens. Marchers at a very big rally in Paris were joined by leaders of France's 8 main labor unions. The march snaked its way through the east of the city in a warm, sunshine, printemps spring day in Paris. The CGT union said 3 million people took part in protests across the country. The police say it was a little over 1 million. 1 million civil servants went on strike. Protesters from the public and private sectors marched in Paris, Lyon, and Marseille, and Strasbourg, as well as 200 other towns. There was one incident really in Paris. Police used tear gas to disperse about 200 young people who threw stones and other objects, as well as lighting fires, when the march came to an end at the Place de la Nation. Also, of course, there was some strike action that sparked flight cancellations at Orly Airport. However, most of the flights out of the main Charles de Gaulle went on time. The Société Nationale de Chemin de Fer, the railroad of France, canceled 40% of its high-speed TGV services and half of other regional trains. We'll now go to a break. The stock market is choppy. It's up about 4 points right now, and we'll come back after a word from our sponsors.